So that didn't go how I wanted. Now, not exactly sure what happened. One minute, I'm walking through the woods, looking for Slender Man. The next, I'm waking up on the ground. Not sure what happened there. What I do know was that my camera was broken. Why? Why my camera? Was it necessary for... That's just... Oh, I can't think straight because of this. Anyway, I was out there. No sighting of the Slender Man. After I was told multiple times, he'll be out there. And finding all those pages. I just don't, I don't know. All the signs were there. He wasn't. Well, of course, I've come back with nothing. That was my plan. That was my great plan that I had worked tirelessly on. It's just like everything else in my life, you know? It just fell apart. Guess that's just my lot in life right now. Well, but don't worry. I'm not giving up. Oh, I am not. I am not giving up yet. This is too important. This is way too important to me. Now, I contacted my source again. Gave him a little bit of my money. Just a fraction. Just a little. Just a tiny bit. After some persuading, though, he gave me this. Now, told me a little bit about what it is. I'm not 100% sure, but from what he told me, this has piqued my interest. I believe this may actually be the answer that I'm looking for. Maybe my prayers will be answered. But, like all great things, I don't want to just jump into it. You know, it's just not fun. Let me do a little research and find out exactly what I'm dealing with here. But I think this will be a good one. Smile.jpeg is a particularly interesting entity that has been floating around the internet. For the most part, it is unknown what it is about this image that drives the victim into epileptic fits and leads to death unless it is passed on to another, termed spreading the word. Some say it's the devil himself. Others just claim a vengeful spirit. An amateur writer, who I could not find out his name, accounts his experiences with the image. I will read an abridged version of his account. I first met in person with Mary E. in the summer of 2007. I had arranged with her husband of 15 years, Terrence, to see her for an interview. Mary had initially agreed, since I was not a newsman, but rather an amateur writer gathering information for a few early college assignments. And if all went according to plan, some pieces of fiction. We scheduled the interview for a particular weekend when I was in Chicago on unrelated business. At the last moment, Mary changed her mind and locked herself in the couple's bedroom, refusing to meet with me. For half an hour, I sat with Terence as we camped outside the bedroom door. I listened and taking notes while he attempted fruitlessly to calm his wife. The things Mary said made little sense, but fit with the pattern I was expecting. Though I could not see her, I could tell from her voice she was crying, and more often than not, her objections to speaking with me centered around an incoherent diatribe on her dreams, her nightmares. Terence apologized profusely when we ceased the exercise, and I did my best to take it in stride. Recall that I wasn't a reporter in search of a story, but merely a curious young man in search of information. Besides, I thought at the time I could perhaps find another similar case if I put my mind and resources to it. Mary E. was a sys-up from a small Chicago-based bulletin board system in 1982 when she first encountered smile.jpeg, and her life changed forever. She and Terence had only been married for 5 months. Mary was one of the estimated 400 people who saw the image and was posted as a hyperlink on the BBS. Though she is only one who has spoken openly about the experience, the rest have remained anonymous, or could be perhaps dead. What caught my interest was the sheer lack of information, usually to the point that people don't believe it even exists, other than as a rumor or even a hoax. Encounters with smile.jpeg are the stuff of internet legend. Mary E.'s story is not unique. There are unverified rumors of smile.jpeg showing up on the early days of Usenet, even one persistent tale that in 2002 a hacker flooded the forums of humor and satire website Something Awful with a deluge of smile.dog pictures, rendering almost half of the forum's users at the time epileptic. It is also said that in the mid to late 90s, smile.jpeg circulated on Usenet and as an attachment of a chain email with a subject line, "Smile, God loves you." Yet despite the huge exposure these stunts would generate, there are very few people who admit to having experienced any of them, and no trace of the file or any link have ever been discovered. Those who have seen smile.jpeg often weakly joke that they were far too busy to save a copy of the picture to their hard drive. However, all alleged victims offer the same description of the photo: a dog-like creature, usually described as appearing similar to a Siberian husky, illuminated by the flash of a camera, sits in a dim room. The only background detail that is visible is a human hand extending from the darkness near the left side of the frame. The hand is empty, but is usually described as beckoning. Of course, more attention is given to the dog, or dog-like creature, as some victims are more certain than others about what they claim to have seen. The muzzle of this beast is reputably split in a wide grin, revealing 2 rows of very white, very straight, very sharp, and very human-looking teeth. This is, of course, not a description given immediately after viewing the picture, but rather a recollection of the victims who claim to have seen the picture endlessly repeated in their mind's eye during the time they are, in reality, having epileptic fits. These fits are reported to continue indeterminately, often while the victim sleeps, resulting in very vivid and disturbing nightmares. These may be treated with medication, though in some cases it is more effective than others. Mary E., I assumed, was not on effective medication. That was why, after my visit to her apartment in 2007, I sent out feelers to several folklore and urban legend-oriented news groups, websites, and mailing lists, hoping to find the name of a supposed victim of smile.jpeg, who felt more interested in talking about his experiences. For a time, nothing happened, and at length I forgot completely about my pursuit, until I had begun my freshman year of college and was quite busy. Mary contacted me via email, however, near the beginning of March 2008. Dear Mr. L., I am incredibly sorry about my behavior last summer when you came to interview me. I hope you understand that it was no fault of yours, but rather my own problems that led me to act out as I did. I realized that I could have handled the situation more delicately. However, I hope you will forgive me. At the time, I was afraid. You see, for 15 years, I've been haunted by smile.jpeg. Smile.dog comes to me in my sleep every night. I know this sounds silly, but it is true. There is an infallible quality about my dreams, my nightmares, that makes them completely unlike any real dream I've ever had. I do not move. I do not speak. I simply look ahead, and the only thing ahead of me is a scene from that horrible picture. I see the beckoning hand, and I see Smile Dog, and it talks to me. It is not a dog, of course, though I'm not quite sure what it really is. It tells me it will leave me alone if I only do as it asks. All I must do, it says, is spread the word. That is how it phrases its demand, and I know exactly what it means. It wants me to show it to someone else, and I could. The week after my incident, I received in the mail a manila envelope with no return address. Inside was only a 3.5-inch floppy diskette. Without having to check, I knew precisely what was on it. I thought for a long time about my options. I could show it to a stranger, a coworker. I could even show it to Terrence. As much as the idea disgusted me. And what would happen then? Well, if Smile Dog kept its word, I could sleep. Yet if I lied, what would I do? And who was to say something worse would not come for me as it did as the creature asked? So I did nothing for 15 years. Though I kept the diskette hidden amongst my things, every night for 15 years Smile Dog has come to me in my sleep and demanded that I spread the word. For 15 years I stood strong. There have been hard times. Many of my fellow victims on the BBS board where I first encountered smile.jpeg stopped posting. I heard some of them committed suicide. Others remained completely silent, simply disappearing off the face of the web. They were the ones I worry about the most. I sincerely hope you forgive me, Mr. L., but last summer when you contacted me and my husband about an interview, I was near my breaking point. I decided I was going to give you that floppy diskette. I didn't care if Smile Dog was lying or not. I wanted it to end. You were a stranger, someone I had no connection with, and I thought I would not feel sorrow when you took that diskette as part of your research and sealed your fate. Before you arrived, I realized what I was doing. I was plotting to ruin your life. I could not stand that thought. And in fact, I still cannot. I'm ashamed, Mr. L., and I hope that this warning will dissuade you from further investigation into smile.jpeg. You may in time encounter someone who is, if not weaker than I, then wholly more depraved, someone who will not hesitate to follow Smile Dog's orders. Stop while you are still whole. Sincerely, Mary E. Terrence contacted me later that month with the news that his wife had killed herself. While cleaning up the various things she left behind, closing email accounts and the like, he happened upon the above message. He was a man in shambles. He wept as he told me to listen to his wife's advice. He'd found that diskette. He revealed and burned it until it was nothing but a stinking pile of blackened plastic. The part of that most disturbed him, however, was the diskette had hissed as it melted, like some sort of animal, he said. The quick check of several Chicago newspapers' online obituaries, however, proved that Mary E. was indeed dead. There was, of course, no mention of suicide in the article. I decided that, for a time at least, I would not further pursue the subject of smile.jpeg, especially since I had finals coming up at the end of May. But the world has odd ways of testing us. Almost a full year after I'd returned from my disastrous interview with Mary E., I received another email. Hello. I found your email address through a mailing list. Your profile said you're interested in smile.dog. I saw it, and it's not as bad as everyone says. I've sent it to you here. Just spreading the word. Smiley face. The final line chilled me to the bone. According to my email client, there was one file attached. Naturally, smile.jpeg. I considered downloading it for some time. It was most likely a fake, I imagined. And even if it wasn't, I was never wholly convinced of smile.jpeg's particular powers. Mary E.'s account had shaken me, yes, but she was probably mentally unbalanced anyway. After all, how could a simple image do what smile.jpeg was said to accomplish? What sort of creature was it that could break one's mind with only the power of the eye? If I downloaded that image, if I looked at it, and if Mary turned out to be correct, if Smile Dog came to me in my dreams, demanding I spread the word, what would I do? Would I live my life as Mary had, fighting against the urge to give in until I died? Or would I simply spread the word, eager to put to rest? And if I chose the latter route, how could I do it? Whom would I burden in turn? If I went through with my earlier intentions to write a short article about smile.jpeg, I decided I could attach it as evidence, and anyone who read the article, anyone who took interest, would be affected. Even assuming that smile.jpeg attached the email was genuine, would I be capricious enough to save myself in that manner? Could I really spread the word? Yes. Yes, I could. Alright. Now, let's see if this can do exactly what it says it can do. I hope this works. I hope I got the right one. Wonder how long this is supposed to take.